Sure.
Yeah. So you guys are playing at 6.
Is 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, January 28th, 2020, and I'd like to call the regular council meeting to order. Shannon, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Here.
Ms. McFerrin?
Here.
Mr. Scafidi?
Here.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Here.
Mrs. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Fury?
Here.
Mr. Bellin?
All right. Now, if everyone would join us for the invocation and pledge of allegiance led by Ms. McFerrin.
Father, we seek your guidance for the business that is before us. In planning for the future of the city of Twinsburg, give us vision. Guide us to make decisions that are not self-serving, but for the betterment of our community, so we can continue to move in a positive direction. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. McFerrin. Moving on, approval of the minutes from the January 14th, 2020 meeting.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as submitted.
Motion made by Mr. Fury. Ms. McFerrin seconded. Any discussion? Okay, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0. Moving on to number 4, awards and presentations. I believe we have one this evening, recognizing Community Focus and Mary Kidd, the Executive Director.
Before I begin, I do want to just take a moment to recognize the passing of Tim Conroy. He was a longtime, as you all know, a longtime Twinsburg resident. He was also on our cable TV consortium board since 2003. And we always knew him as a man of integrity and honor and quick with a joke. So Focus would like to extend a heartfelt thanks to Tim and to the city of Twinsburg for sending him our way. Okay, so I won't take up much of your time, short talk. I am Mary Kidd. I'm the Executive Director of Community Focus, which many of you know for years as Cable 9, and it was headed by Jeff Cole. Well, Jeff has transitioned to part-time and will be retiring in the fall. And the reason we are now Community Focus is because, well, we're not on Channel 9 anymore. You can find us on Channel 1021 on Spectrum Cable. But we're more than a channel. We're a community resource, and that's why I'm here, to just make sure everyone knows that, and if you could spread the word to your constituents. We have a huge social media presence now. Our programming is available on our website, on our app. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we've recently branched out into live streaming. But we are a resource for you and for all the viewers. If you want to know what's going on in your community, all the mayors have a show. If you want to know what's going on in your schools, all the superintendents have a show. As you all know, at election time, we have community candidates dialogues so the viewers can be more informed. We cover the school activities and sports, and we have entertainment. So that was my point, that we're a community resource for you. So if you want anything covered, or if we can do anything for you, please let us know. I'm going to leave a few flyers that give the details of our social media and my business cards. And I'm done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Should I put them on the table? I can take them to you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And again, just for the record, Channel 1021 on Spectrum, correct? Wonderful. All right. Moving along, on item number 5, audience participation. Ms. Collins?
There is none.
That brings us to council communication and reports. Ms. McFerrin, would you like to start us off this evening?
I'd be happy to, thank you.
Thank you.
So the Architectural Review Board met on January 16th. There was case 20-0101, which was a presentation from the Director of Planning and Community Development, Mr. Larry Finch. Case 20-0102 which is 10683 Ravenna Road, and all state signs that were passed. Case 20-0103, 9254 Wallingford Drive, an addition and that was passed. Case number 20-0104, 9385 Shepherd Road for the demolition of that property. And then case 20-0105, 9385 Shepherd Road for a new single-family dwelling, and that was passed. The next meeting will be February 6th, 6 p.m. here. I know I have another one. Oh, the Golf Advisory Board met on Tuesday, January 21st, here at 6:30. Mr. Marnay gave a report on the financials of the golf course, and Mr. Roberts gave a report on the status of the course and the improvements. And apparently the last 3 days right after Christmas, the golf course was open and full. There was no clubhouse update, and the next meeting was supposed to be March 17th and will be rescheduled due to the fact that it's St. Patrick's Day. The golf course felt that they had nothing new to report in March, so depending on if there's any updates from the clubhouse, it might be skipped in March. That's all I have.
Terrific, thank you. Mrs. Walker?
Good evening. I have met with my committees already in January, and the next time we meet will be in February, so I have nothing to report today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. Mr. Scafidi?
Thank you, Mr. Byer. Good evening. My report's short as well. The next Planning Commission meeting will be on February 3rd, Monday, February 3rd, at 7 o'clock right here in the council chambers. And that's really all I have to report tonight. That's it. Thank you.
All right, moving along, Mrs. Stauffer.
My committees have not met. The next scheduled meeting is the Environmental Commission meeting on February 4th at 7 p.m. And that is all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Mrs. Stauffer. Mr. Fury?
Thank you and good evening. On 1/21, I attended a finance workshop with the Finance Committee. This evening, I attended, as did the rest of the council, a performance audit update from the State Auditor's Office. Also attended a Finance Committee where Mr. Barr was elected chairman. I'm sure he'll put a much more detailed report. I'd just like to bring up one highlight from the finance meeting that I took away is our beginning balance last year was $16,886,000, and we finished with an unexpended balance of $17,772,000, which is an increase of almost $1 million from what we started with to what we ended with. So, you know, I think we're going to do the same process this year with our budget, to try to be very cautious in what we spend, but we only spend roughly 95 to 96% of what is budgeted, and we're very conservative on what we estimate as income. So, but it was a good year. Mr. Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Fury. The only committee that has met for me was the Finance Committee, and as Mr. Fury stated, we had a work session on the 21st that was very productive, which kind of rolled right into our Finance Committee this evening, which was preceded by the auditor's report, and that's an exciting process. So I'm looking forward to being able to discuss that further as that unfolds. As far as the Finance Committee goes, we did discuss the 2019 financial results and State of Ohio indicators. The 2020 permanent budget was discussed. There's going to be a work session to discuss some of those items here. The date is to be determined, but that will be on the agenda sooner than later. We also discussed and voted on a recommendation for the clubhouse note renewal, given that rates are low, I believe around 1.2%, was the vote and or recommendation of Finance Committee in a majority passage to move forward with the 7.138 notes and recommend that to council as such. We did discuss some of the results of the Perry and Associates recommendations, and I would like to go on the record and state that Although some are portraying that as a negative, our finance director thought that it was an excellent opportunity for us to look at ways we could perform better, and that it should be viewed as a positive. Interesting to note that of the 2 items, one has been handled completely, and the other item regarding manual reconciliation she is working on, and her ability and skill set to do so was also called out specifically in the letter as being somebody that's more than capable of handling the situation. And we put our faith in her to take care of that, as already evidenced that she's doing so. Finally, our next regularly scheduled Finance Committee meeting is currently scheduled for February 25th, preceding our regular council meeting, the second meeting of February, so that'd be at 6 p.m. typically. And that is all I have to report on this evening. So moving on from there, that will be you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Couple things. So we had our Portage, Stark, and Summit County Service Director / Mayor meeting. We meet quarterly, and this was something that was started by Glenn Broska years ago. And it's just a way for, we hosted this past quarter, and just for service directors and mayors to get together and kind of talk about things going on in our community. If there's different ideas or different processes we're using, we spend a lot of time talking this time of year about SALT and what we're doing and how we're spending it, if there's different things that are happening. But I enjoy it. I mean, it's great just to get together with other mayors. We do get up on tangents on certain things, which is always actually productive because we can talk about really anything in these roundtable kind of meetings. But I look forward to going to that every quarter. I just want to wish a 100th birthday wish to Carol Tolbert. I actually will be going and presenting her with a proclamation this Thursday. Her family contacted us, and we don't have these very often in Twinsburg, so I just wanted to make sure I mentioned her. This weekend is a TAB tournament, our wrestling tournament. We have about 30, usually 32 teams or so for 7th and 8th graders. It's the largest tournament in the state, and I would be willing to say it's probably the largest tournament in the northeast part of the country, because the quality of wrestlers that we get at this tournament and the way that this is organized and put on is just exceptional. But they're still looking for volunteers, so if you track down TAB, I'm sure they'd be willing to let you to volunteer and spend some time on Friday or Saturday helping out. We're getting into our season of fundraising events for a lot of our community organizations. A lot of the things that we have here in the city, we're fortunate enough to have just great nonprofit organizations that help run them and organize them, but they also need to fundraise to help make all those things happen. So I'm just going to list a couple of them that are going on. Our Band Boosters has That's Amore. That's at RBC at Chamberlain on Saturday, February 8th. There's Team Colin Winterfest, which is Saturday, March 14th at the Roar Shores Marina. And then there's a martini tasting, which is for the After Prom Committee, and that's at Brewster's on February 20th. So there's a lot of, if you just search these organizations on Facebook, you can find all the particular information on how to register. And for me, that's all I have this evening, and we have a couple of department head reports. Keith, you want to start?
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, I stopped in to personally give you a progress report of the Building Department Division and what I've come up with since being here. So in the past 8 weeks, I've worked to understand your municipal codes and processes and how the Building Division effectively operates in the city along with other departments. Understanding this, I have some notes to highlight. I've evaluated and maximized efficiency of your Franklin systems, which is the building permit software that we use. Some of the things in there, I've tried to revise some of the code enforcement letters that go out so that they're current with the accurate codes required for the enforcement side on the legal end of it once we get to that point. Some of them just needed to be tuned up. I've reviewed the scheduling processes. I've also corrected some of the Franklin Systems programming related to the fees so that they're accurate with what the ordinances require for permit fees. I've considered the overall performance of the Franklin Systems with the department and what is happening currently in the industry with online permitting and more online access for customers. This system doesn't allow that. I think that could be a potential at some point, but the system does function for what we're doing currently. I reevaluated the current practices related to code enforcements. I have more direct involvement with the inspection team to ensure standardized methods and implementation of the codes and actual tangible follow-up. I've consulted with the law director and the city prosecutor to confirm most of the actions that we are performing so that they're consistent with the legal process. I've developed a procedural course of action relating to all code enforcement cases. What I found is that there was no format or blueprint that people were following. So I want to make sure that everybody's doing the exact same thing so that when you have questions, you understand what we're going to do next and you can anticipate that. And so will our clients. I've also met recently with our staff, both individually. I plan to meet with them as a group. I want to understand their individual roles in the division and how they're best suited to do what they do in the department and some of the functions related to that in the division. And I'm also working to utilize all of them as a team more efficiently and effectively in the department. So with that, that's kind of an overview. I don't know if you have any questions, but I think there's a lot on my plate in that arena of kind of turning the corner and consolidating some of these things that have been sort of lingering in the past. So with that.
Did anyone have any questions, Ms. Walker?
I don't have a question with what you were talking about, but I just want to say thank you for the information. I attended a homeowners association meeting, I think it was January 21st, and I needed information regarding an abandoned foreclosed home in Ward 2, and I got a hold of Keith that morning, and by 4:30, 5 o'clock, not only did he send me 3 letters, which was very helpful. We talked maybe 2 or 3 times before I got to the meeting. I took the meeting to the homeowners association, presented it to them. The information he gave me was so thorough. There were 20, 25 people there. They didn't ask a question at all. They said, thank you for the information. And I just want to thank you, Keith, because it was my first interaction with you, and you really impressed me. So
Well,
keep up the good work. Thank you so much.
Glad I could help.
You're welcome.
Any other comments or questions for our building commission?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Have a good evening.
Absolutely.
Eric?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just want to, this is our last weekend for the water park bonus days, so those wanting the passes and wanting the bonus days, got to get them by the end of the month. You still get a pass, but you will only get the bonus days, so make sure you get that by the end of the month. And then also you can add on the splash-in days, which are before the main season and the end of the main season as well. You can add on those days, but that can be purchased later. But the bonus days, I know we'll have some people miss it. We try to get it out every way. It ends at the end of the month. Coming up next month, theater, the Twinsburg Community Theater is doing a smaller show at RBC. It's Frozen Kids. It'll be on February 22nd at 7 p.m. and then on the 23rd, there'll be a 1 p.m. and a 3 p.m. performance. They're short shows, about 30 to 40 minutes long. All kids in the school district, 18 and younger. We're also day camp, time to start thinking about camp. So all the information for camp will be out here probably by the beginning of March, and then day camp registration day for residents is on April 11th. That'll be at the community center. And speaking of camp, we are hiring leaders and volunteers, so all that is happening now. Even for lifeguards and swim instructors, all that happens now. Sometimes we get people come in May and June. We have to have this way done in advance. So make sure anyone, they can go to the mytwinsburg.com and click on employment, and they can apply. And again, do that sooner than later. A couple things coming up. We have a lifeguard training opportunity, so those that want to be lifeguards can take a class and then they can get a job with us. It's a good time of year to do that. We have a day off of school camp on February 14th when the kids don't have school, and then we have a President's Day pool party on February 17th at the fitness center. The Ag Con, everyone asked about the adult Ag Con. Usually it will take place on Friday, April 3rd. Tickets go on sale February 25th at 6:30 p.m. I think you just said you have a finance meeting that day? That is for residents only and a 4-ticket maximum per household. Rock the Park concerts are all booked. There'll be release scheduled sometime in April, kind of working on sponsorship deals and last minute things like that, but everything's moving along good. I think it was Mr. Scafidi who asked about the ADA accessibility at the amphitheater, why we were just doing a little bit of it. Maybe we should look at the master plan of it. So we did have a landscape architect who kind of put together the master plan. He's going to put a scope of work together, and I'll bring that once I get that. But we had a good meeting on Friday. Went out and kind of looked at the site in the cold and came up with a couple ideas. So he's going to put together a scope of work, and we have to get a survey and stuff done. So I'll report back once I get that back. And then also the baseball field, we have a few, like 1 or 2 punch list items, but all the grant stuff was sent in. So they just emailed me and Sarah letting know our money should be sent soon. So we'll be getting the grant money for that, and that was I think $130,000. So that should be here in the next few weeks. And like the mayor had mentioned, it is the wrestling tournament this weekend, and there's also a swim meet. So it'll be a busy weekend at the fitness center for sure, I think Friday night. And then lastly, I don't know if you've seen our new videos, new marketing videos at the fitness center.
Yes,
So
I did. Love
we just
them.
did another one today. I think that's our 3rd. So you'll be seeing some videos, kind of new way to get the information out, a little fun in there as well. And I think it's a great way to get our staff, like they were excited to do it. And so it's another way to exploit their talents, because I was like, wow, you're really good at this.
Are they on
I
our-
can't get Gary out of my head when you say bonus days now. So
I know,
it's
so
like-
you know, bonus days. So it's our staff, they're on our Facebook page, but then we also have a YouTube channel now.
Okay.
But you can get that right from our Facebook page. So I think there was one just uploaded today
Yeah.
about lifeguard training and talking to Jacob, our full-time
They're great.
lifeguard.
Yeah.
So they do a good job. There's, they do a good job of merging them on our video software. I don't know how they do it, but it all comes out nice. So
It's good.
pleased with that new marketing venture we're trying there as well. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Questions?
Questions or
No.
anything for Derek?
Thank you, Derek.
Thanks.
Thank you,
Yes.
Derek.
That's all we have.
No, Sarah, you reporting it all?
Actually, Sarah's got some good news.
I do have good news.
All right,
Don't
let's
skip
hear
me
it.
tonight. So January 2020 income tax revenues, we are up 18.17% over January last year, so good news. We're at 2.334, where last year we were at 1.975. We already talked a little bit about the performance auditors. They're pretty much done with their data collection and analysis. So we're moving on from there. A couple more things they're gonna work on. 2020 permanent budget will go on legislation next month. And thanks, Mr. Barr, for the vote of confidence. I appreciate it. My staff works so hard. They do a great job.
I think you pointed out in 2018, we had 50% turnover in the finance department, and that's the year that this letter is specifically calling out for the audit. So you guys,
Right.
it's amazing that the 2 recommendations, I think that's impressive.
Yeah, it was just, the one recommendation was just to do a couple things a little bit faster, and we're working on it. But yeah, when you have 50% turnover and you open up a couple new lines of business,
Yeah.
it's a little tough, but we're working on it.
We don't want to
Doing
make it
good.
too easy on you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thanks.
Okay. That concludes department head reports. That brings us to legislation. Ordinance 09-2020.
An ordinance providing for the issuance of sale of not to exceed 7,138,000 of notes in anticipation of issuance of bonds for the purpose of paying costs of constructing, furnishing, and equipping a new clubhouse at the city's Glen Eagle Golf Club, including related storage, lighting, drainage facilities, and clearing, improving, and equipping its site, and declaring an emergency.
All right. So this is actually the second reading, but at this time, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and place ordinance 09-2020 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion?
Purpose for the emergency is that we want to be able to lock in this 1.2% rate for the $7.138 million. We actually get almost 2% on our savings account right now, so it's a phenomenal rate for the 1 year. And that's the reason we need the emergency now.
And additionally, this was, the recommendation to support this was passed by a majority of Finance Committee this evening. So, with that being said, Shannon, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
All right, the emergency clause passes 6-0. Now, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 09-2020 as an emergency. May I have a second?
I second.
Ms. Walker seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
The ordinance passes as an emergency, 6-0. Moving on, Resolution 10-2020.
A resolution authorizing the transfer of service weapon serial number 45A022088 to retired Police Lieutenant James Scarl as an honorarium of his many years of service with the City of Twinsburg.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 10-2020. May I have a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any discussion?
We normally allow a retired police officer to keep his weapon after they're retired from the city of Twinsburg. Jim did a great job for the city. Still in touch with him, and wish him the best in his retirement.
Anything further? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Okay, Resolution 10-2020 passes 6-0. Resolution 11-2020.
A resolution for endorsement of the Summit County Metro Parks levy funding ballot issue on March 17th, 2020 ballot.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 11-2020. Is there a second? Mr. Scafidi seconds. Any discussion?
This is Summit County Metro Parks levy that's going to be on this upcoming election, and they've asked us to support it. We have a great partnership with the Metro Parks. We've got over 3,000 acres of land that they help basically monitor and upkeep, and we've always, again, supported anything that they've done here in the city, and they've invested significant dollars in the city, and so I would just ask council to pass this, just showing our support.
Wonderful. Anything further? Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Resolution 11-2020 passes 6-0. Moving on to item 10, unfinished business, new business, and miscellaneous. Ms. McFerrin, anything?
Yes, I have two things. The Friends of the Twinsburg Parks asked me to share two things. They met last night. They are partnering with some community members on a Safety Town subcommittee and scheduling a euchre tournament in March to raise money for that. There are two open board positions, treasurer and administrator. And if you're interested, you can email friendsofTwinsburgParks@gmail.com. And then I did want to thank TSC Talks, the new video rollout on YouTube. I think it's very creative and interesting.
I have a question on your euchre tournament. Do you go in as an individual, or do you come in with a partner?
In the planning stage, you want to be part of the committee?
Sure.
This sounds like an invitation, Mr. Fury.
I'm sure there's gonna be both.
Good work.
I was
Okay.
talking to Dave Kleinman today
All
about
I'm saying is, I don't know if you have to bring your partner in and you work as a team, or if you're just gonna go in a round robin thing.
No, I think you'll probably be paired with his teams and stay with that team throughout the turn, is my
Would you like to be on the committee too, Mr. Mayor?
I may help. I was an aggressive euchre player in college, so. But, I was talking to Kleinman about it and just offering some options of, venue and, different things for it, so I think I'll probably get a call from Deb to talk about it a little bit more.
Looking forward to that. Mr. Fury, anything for you this evening?
I do, thank you. The Twinsburg High School varsity hockey team is having a bowling fundraiser. It is going to be Saturday, February 29th, from 6 to 8:30 at Roseland Lanes. You can get tickets through Cynthia Bernardo at 216-244-1110. It's $20 for 2.5 hours of bowlings. Includes your shoes, some pizza, soft drink, and again, if you want to play as a group, please contact Cynthia at 216-244-1110. And they have a 50-50. They're going to have raffle baskets as well as door prizes. So if you're available, please support the Twinsburg High School hockey fundraiser. Thank you.
I didn't mention that in my report because I knew you were doing that. So
Wonderful. Ms.
Well,
Walker?
I forgot to do it on the first round, and I apologize for that. I was going to do it
I don't
twice,
want the
Shannon.
hockey to feel I left them off my report, so I knew Mr. Fury was gonna highlight them.
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fury. Mrs. Walker, anything this evening?
Yes, I have a couple of kudos. There was a resident in my ward, and she had a mailbox situation. And she emailed me, I think it was late Thursday night around 10:30, 11 o'clock, and I responded to her and mentioned to her that I would call City Hall and get her some answers. So I did talk to Ski and his employees. They were out on the job, and by the end of the afternoon, she had a brand-new mailbox up. And I want to say what quick response. And also, the previous week, I received a phone call and 10:30 at night, and I don't go to bed until like 12, 1 o'clock, so I responded to it. And there was some trash, garbage on his street that wasn't picked up. I called Public Works, and the next day was a Tuesday. They picked up his Christmas tree, so to speak, that was out there. And he was so happy because it was out on his tree lawn for like 3 weeks. So I just want to say that the city have the best employees. Same-day service. You call them, they'll have it done. So same-day service for the Public Works Department. That's all I have.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Walker.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Stauffer.
I have nothing this evening.
Okay. Mr. Scafidi.
I have nothing further tonight either, thank you.
Okay, I only have one item of new business. And it's a motion regarding a new liquor permit. Just to put this in perspective, this is for a business on Ravenna Road. It would formerly be the Tailgaters location, which is the corner of East Idlewood and Ravenna Road. So it's a standalone parcel there. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion that City Council does not oppose the new liquor permit from San Pelino LLC located on Ravenna Road, and authorize the clerk to submit the form to the Ohio Division of Liquor Control. Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Any further discussion? Okay, Shannon, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Ms. McPherron?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 6-0. That's all I have as far as new business. Mayor, any new business this evening?
No, nothing else for me.
Mr. Maestros?
Nothing. Excellent job, Mr. Barr.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Butchie-Dross, anything?
Nothing from me, thanks.
Mrs. Collins?
Nothing from me.
Wonderful. Moving on, excusing absent members. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Council President Greg Vella
Just say it.
from the meeting this evening due to work travel. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Scafidi seconds. Any further discussion about Mr. Bellin's absence? All right, Shannon, please call the roll.
Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Walker?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Okay, passes 6-0. And without further ado, that brings us to the conclusion of this evening's meeting. Thank you for all your attendance.
Okay.
Nice job, Scott.
Good job.